Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond Breakfast. Okay, so we are in middle of a Elul, and Rav Dessler was talking about the idea that anytime you have a time of spiritual growth, there has to be some other counterweight that pulls you in the opposite direction, right? So we talk about living in Israel, having a counterweight, pulling you in the opposite direction. Sometimes Israel can be a powerful place where you could grow spiritually, and if you get it wrong, Israel can be a place where you have like the lowest parts of like Tel Aviv, highest parts of Jerusalem, people who are sitting there and trying to reach the highest echelons of spiritual development and growth. And then on the other side, you have people who are lost in all kinds of pride stuff and whatever it is. So now he's going to tell us what is the remedy. How do you fix? Remember the last mashal he gave was that there was a rabbi who had diabetes, and he knows that eating chocolate is really bad for him, and he sees a box of nicely wrapped chocolates. You know, for me it's Godiva. Every time I see a Godiva, I'm like, oh man, just one. All you need is one Godiva. And then the question is, how do you eat it? Do you put the whole thing in your mouth? Do you take small bites? Do you wait for the hazelnut in the middle? It's like a whole and depending if you have a drink or not will determine how you're going to eat the whole entire thing. Anyway, so this is his remedy. He says as follows. He says, it is clear that the intellectual exercise will not influence action. This is such a powerful thing. How often do we know something intellectually, cognitively? Does that change anything? I could sit here from today until tomorrow and tell you about the wonders and the beauty of Torah, and it could be a very deep class, but it will not move the heart. Why is that? Now it's interesting. I was I noticed this on the way in today. I came up from the Manhattan Tunnel, and there's this huge purple sign, and it says something about like NYU Langone, right? Like a hospital. You're looking at it for like literally 6 seconds. Why are they spending $30,000, $40,000 a month to go ahead and have that sign there? Because more than words, okay, the subconscious can be influenced more than anything you could actually understand. So therefore, when you're scrolling on Instagram or you're online and you see a small ad, the first time it doesn't bother you. Yeah, I know what they're trying to do, because you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell you. And then you ignore it, and you keep flicking, and then it keeps coming back over and over again. And at some point, it's so relentless, you're going to double click on it. And then you see yourself taking the credit card, maybe not this time, next time, no, I know that. And eventually it gets you, because you are motivated by what you see more than what you know. And that's what he's saying over here. It's clear that intellectual exercise will not influence actions. He says, he says that he has a famous article where he learned about, he was a smoker. Rav Dessler used to smoke 4 packs of cigarettes. Okay? He lit 1 match. He was just chain smoking. He was a serial, what? No, he died eventually, but I'm saying, but the doctors told him, listen, you got to stop smoking. They gave him a whole entire medical report, why it's bad for you, this and that, whatever it is. And he knows it's bad, but yet he feels that pull for the cigarette, right? He knows it's bad for him, but he feels so he's like, why is it happening? I know the wrong thing. The body has its own wants and needs. So the subconscious remains impervious to all such efforts. My great-grandfather, Rabbi Salanter, of blessed memory, developed innovative emotion-arousing techniques in order to affect the subconscious. He's going to tell us what it is. Unfortunately, these skills have been largely lost at present. Whatever Rabbi Salanter taught about how to change the subconscious is lost. But what we can do, what can we do to arrest to stop ourselves from sliding into sin? And this is his answer. How do you stop yourself? There's only one way. It's called action, ma'asim, right? Action. You got to get into a program of positive action, ma'asim tovot. When you do that, it prepares to challenge bechira when it comes. When he says over here, he says one of our 4 things that reverse the evil decree is shinui ma'aseh, a change in action. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. Once you've made a radical change in your attitude, we can set about increasing the number of positive acts we do each day. They not need be big acts. People think I got to do the big things. It's not true. It's the small things over long periods of time that have the deepest impact. But it has to be a ratzon on your part that I want to become something more. If there's no ratzon, there's no desire. I say this all the time. We say shalol lishma ba lishma. It's not true. Shalol lishma ba lishma only works if you know what the goal is. If you're saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have this pizza, I'm going to enjoy it, I shouldn't be having it right now. Shalol l'shma, but I want to go to the class. I'm going to learn because I get the pizza. So we're going to say, okay, you know what? You can learn, you get the pizza. Shalol l'shma, bal l'shma. I'm going to give you the pizza. Eventually, you're going to get to learn the Gemara. It doesn't work. If you think the whole entire point is to justify getting the pizza, right, or justify going to the siyum, right, but there's no real plan of in your mind of actually learning the Gemara, the Shalol l'shma, bal l'shma doesn't work. You stay in the game long enough and hopefully your heart opens up and you find some other opportunity to go ahead and move yourself into that direction. But if it's not clear where you're going, you cannot move. Like I spoke about this on Friday. Like if you can't defeat an enemy unless you know you're at war with them. Right? The West cannot defeat the enemies unless they know they're in battle with these enemies. It doesn't work. You got to know who you're fighting, and most of the time you're fighting yourself. On the contrary, many small acts are more effective than one big one. By the way, this is true. Like as people ask me all the time, Rabbi, I struggle with my concentration in Shemona Esrei. What should I do? Which bracha? How do I fix it? So I say, ideally all of them, but if you can't do all of them, don't even pick the Shemona Esrei. Pick one part of tefillah that you love and own that part. Try it tomorrow. Pick one part of tefillah, whether it's Baruch Shama, Yishtabach, Hallelu, Ashrei, whatever it is, one of the brachot of Shemona Esrei. Say to yourself, whenever I hit that spot, I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to say it with intention. I'm going to have kavanah. It'll change your whole tefillah. The Yetzer Hara knows if you do all of it, you're going to fail. By the way, that's how he gets you to fail. Oh, you got to go. You got to go all in. Do the whole tefillah. It doesn't work like that. Pick one aspect of tefillah, own it, and build on that more and more and more. And because at Hashem, you'll get the clarity. One service during the month of Elul. Our service in the month of Elul must be to throw ourselves into a program of vibrant acts of positive content, to take us from extreme of moral and spiritual slackness over all other extremes of moral strength and enthusiastic endeavor. Shulchan Aruch recommends that in the 10 days of penance, right, 10 days of Sentiment Teshuvah, we should adopt special stringencies. During the Sentiment Teshuvah, I only drink a makbid on Pas Yisrael, a makbid on Chal Yisrael, even though I should be doing all the year round, but sometimes you see a nice Haagen-Dazs, it's hard to say no to it, but I won't have it during the Sentiment Teshuvah because these are the stringencies that I want to be makbid on, because I want to go ahead and upgrade my thing. I'm doing some kind of action that says, you know what, I need this time to be different than any other time. So he says that we should adopt special stringencies, mitzvot, even if we do not demand it, he says, during the rest of the year. On the face of it, it seems most puzzling. What's the point of this extra care if we don't intend to keep it up? I believe our rabbis are hinting at the very method that we ourselves have been enthusiastically into a varied program. The way to success lies in throwing ourselves enthusiastically into a varied program of good deeds and taking extra care in the performance of all mitzvot. Even if this does not really correspond to our present madrigah, a radical change in behavior will pave the way for real change of heart and open to opportunities for sincere, thorough repentance. Meaning, if there is no real way of a path in your mind of upgrading, it's not going to work. So what do? Sephardim are geniuses, right? Our ancestors said, you're not going to do selichot for 12 days. Ashkenazim do it right before, 3 days before Rosh Hashanah. So they're doing it like on the 29th, 27th of Elul until that's their Seder Teshuvah, right? So they have 10 days. For us, we have 40 days of doing this. Why? Because of this idea. Think about how many people come extra early for Salichot. They don't normally do that during the year. You can spend an extra 40 minutes in Tefillah. Why am I doing that? I happen to enjoy doing it. I love the songs, I love the tunes. But it's a reminder of me doing some kind of an action now that says, so for example, let's say you want to stop smoking. Let's say you want to go ahead and get on a diet, right? You got to do something. It can't just be a thought. I'm going to think about it. No, I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to get a buddy. I'm going to get a friend. I'm going to do something positive. I'm going to give tzedakah. I'm going to go ahead and learn a class. There has to be something you're switching the old behavior with the new behavior. There was a note that my wife sent me today that I thought was super powerful, and it's really sad, because so much of what's happening in Israel right now is there's so much pain in the world, and people are just giving up on life. And my wife sent me this great article. I want to use this for my Get in the Zone thing. This is just going to read a quick part of this, and we'll call it a day. Today, yet another heartbreaking report came out. A reservist soldier was found lifeless in his home. His name is Ariel Revach. a veteran who suffered from PTSD after Operation Protective Edge and is now a rehabilitation mentor, shared a powerful message for anyone feeling alone, right? This idea like you're alone, there's no way out. He says, I too have walked through the valley of the shadow of death. I too came back dead inside. I too almost ended my life. I understand your pain. And I want you to know this. You can find the way out of the hell you're in. Even when it feels like the darkness has swallowed you whole, there's always, without exception, still a spark of light. Hold on to that light. It can save the entire world. After all, you are an entire world. And then he goes into like his small parts that I want to use on Monday night. So, how is that connected to what we're speaking about? You see, the month of Elul is the month of Teshuvah. What does Teshuvah mean? There's several different ways of breaking the word. The Zohar says the word Teshuvah is Teshuv Hashem, returning to God. Right? That's one. Teshuvah is also an answer. Right? It's a response. Right? So what's the response too? Well, it's the month where when you ask questions, you get answers. Right? The idea that I am stuck infallible in sin for the rest of my life is false. The idea that you feeling like you're alone, that you're stuck, you can't break out of the situation you're in is a lie. It's a lie. We can accomplish anything we set our minds to. A young person takes his life because he feels like he's unable to break out of the darkness he's in. I want you to know, the test is there. The darkness is there to remind you the light is around the corner. The month of Elul is returning to the most purest parts of who we are, right? The way we get there is by doing small little actions over and over again. It's got to come from a place of happiness. You cannot grow if you're sad. You cannot build a business if you're depressed. You cannot accomplish anything in a marriage if you're feeling broken, and it doesn't work. First, you have to have simcha. This is why, by the way, Rosh Hashanah, for Sfarim at least, more so than Ashkenazim, it's a Yom Simcha. We think it's about sitting there and asking Hashem for forgiveness. It's not that. The Ashkenazim spend so much time on HaMelech. That's a sad thing. They read about different kinds of death and so on and so forth, and that's not us. We're saying Hashem Melech, Hashem Alach, Avinu Avarachaman, Arachim Av Albanim. It's a whole different thing. It's a different reality. Because we understand that the way we change, the way we grow, it's got to come through positive thoughts and positive actions. May we grow through those positive thoughts and actions. Have a great day, Be'ez Hashem. We'll continue the conversation tomorrow.